All right. I didn't split the night up very evenly. Probably could have gone back a little bit further because I was planning on ending pretty early tonight. That way y'all can work on stuff. But there's another big step with the Django projects we haven't looked at yet. That kind of important. Do I have a Django project here locally? I think I do. What was that? Oh, what's changed? I guess I'll save it. Uh, Hopefully I didn't like accidentally make a typo or something. I thought it was already saved, but where are Django projects? Oh, this one. So I open the PowerShell here and sort of check what's run this project. So we're at the same level as the manage.py. This was that first one we did, I believe. So if I have Python, manage.py, and run our virtual server. Should be able to pop this open. There's our example of words on the screen, links, our application. This is probably a better page. Everything's still in the default state though, right? A couple of y'all have had SDEV 153, I believe, right? Remember, most of that class was about styling the page. So it'd be nice to make this look a little bit better. And images follow suit with this. We have to do kind of the same thing. If we have images we want to show. We need to put a style sheet on here. But in the case of this page, that was in, I can't remember which folder it was.
The tip is the.
Oh, there's views.
Yeah.
So, whoops. Actually, I should probably just go up here and open it with my text editor. Open in one of the text editors, and one of these files has views.py. Ah, here it is. So there's the string that's echoing back and showing on that first page. How do we get a style sheet in that string? That's a little bit more problematic. I guess we could do an embedded style. We do embedded style tags. If we got a lot of pages, that's going to add up pretty quick. So we probably want to use an external style sheet. So we can put a link to it. For this one, it's our template. That's referring to the stuff in this folder. But well, we can see from the address, we do not go into, it's not localhost port 8000 / templates folder / tipper.html. Right? It is not running from that folder. So our style sheet wouldn't be in the same spot. So how do we address that? Personally, what I do, I'll just do this in preview mode. If we go up to the top level ones, which was in the other folder, yeah, like Sam was just saying, in settings, there's this list of allowed hosts. Personally, what I do is I'll just put the style sheet somewhere else on the internet and then say that's allowed host. We're allowed to run code from another domain as well. That's what I think is the easiest way, but there is a proper way to do it here. So what we want to do, we'll create a new folder here. I'll come over here. In here, just like we did templates. And I think we will need to do the migrations now, but see a migrations folder, so I think it already did my migrations automatically when when it gave me the warning and I didn't actually do the migrations. It went ahead and did them anyway. Django has some funny warnings like that. It'll put it there, but if you run it 2 or 3 times without doing what the warning says to, it'll do it anyway. Or not just Django, most of our good frameworks will do that. I'll make a new folder called static. Static typically means things that don't change, right? So that's where our style sheet would go. So in this folder called static, I'll create a new file and save it as tipping.css. Then we can do some style rules. I don't know, body, background image, linear gradient, 14 degrees, and then a couple random colors, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and fades to A3, B4, CC. Arbitrary colors, but some sort of linear gradient on the background, so we some colors, which might be a weird color. I think black text will still be fine, but let's put another color in there. Put yellow text on top of that. I'm completely guessing colors, but that'll give us some style. Probably won't look good, but we'll actually yellow text just sounds bad, doesn't it? Are either one of those a green? That's a purple. This is a purple. You'll see what color this is in a few minutes. Green, yellow, maybe that'll work. So now that we have that in our templates, I'll do it in one of the templates because in the string we would just add the same thing I'm getting ready to put in the templates on that string. So it's just like that's the results. Here's our inputs. So just like you're used to from you would have seen previously, our relevance is it's a style sheet. Our MIME type is it's Unicode data that should be encoded into CSS instructions. Then we need that link of where to find it. And in your SDEV 153 class, you would just put it in a folder and done them all the same way. It's a little bit different here because we're not running things from the folder we're viewing them from. Right? The view, all these templates get pulled back to that views.py script and then transmitted separately. So they're no longer in the same structure as we're storing them in. Probably should have put another folder there. I'm going to just put the name here and hopefully you'll see what's going on. Tipping.css. If they were in the same folder, it would look something like that. But if we're pulling them and sending them all at the same time, it'd be similar. It should probably be organized into another folder called CSS. So in static, we have a folder called CSS, and then CSS/tipping is what we're looking for here. This is our input. For reload it, we still don't get any changes. We have to run an extra instruction over here. Send an error message. Oh no. So I'm going to cancel that server that's running. And the Python interpreter, look at manage.py and run collect static. You have requested to collect all static files, and images are also going to be static, right? They don't change. We load that image in the folder and it stays there until we show it on the page. Non-dynamic things versus our database, and the processing the stuff that's in our database is going to change a lot. So all images, style sheets, things like that go in the static folder. When you're ready, run this collect static method from the manage.py script. Yes to continue or no to cancel, and you have to be certain about it. Got a bunch of error messages. This one's way more complicated than it needs to be. I've often thought that's why I do that other stuff. Static files in Django. Google already knew what we were looking for. Oh, let's check the documentation. Static URL equals static, so the folder name. You can also load static manually without doing collect static first. Collect static just sets it so the projects can transmit everything at once. Load static in. This one can read a little bit easier. So load the static, and then we still have those template looking things. And then we have that keyword static. And then what is the what is it pointing at? So that would be the file path inside the static folder. So the static folder has a folder called my app, and in that my app is an example.jpg. So in our case, we're still getting errors. Oh, actually, it's not even running right now, is it? Let me rerun that. Just give a second. There we go. Right now it's running. But we're not seeing that page. So somewhere up at the top, preferably at the very top, this, which always looks exactly the same. Load, and then this static file. Finish our thing there, and then our address here goes inside of one of those templates. At that end, need to, what document says, static, refer to that folder, then the address from once we get to the static folder. What isn't like that? Oh, and look at the quote marks. All of that needs to be a string. And then we have another string inside of it. That's probably the thing I like the least about this. So all outside here, we need to make that a string, but we're still in Python, so our quote marks are interchangeable. I'll just put the single quotes on the outside. Kind of a mess to get that in there, right? I'll probably still mess something up. Oh, there it goes. See, yellow wouldn't have looked too bad on that. This is something that anybody that had me, a couple of y'all had me for the SJ153 class. This is that thing I was always fixing. And right, the browser decided we did not need the whole page, so it didn't give us a whole page of that later reading. It's like, oh, you don't need the whole body. You only need like an inch or so here. So min height of 100% fixes that. Like always use 100% of the screen. Because that one just really, really bothers me. But now that looks a whole lot better. So that's how we get the static one, how we get our images. Personally, I think it's a lot easier to go over to settings. Where'd the settings go? Go to settings, and then on our allowed host, right? I wouldn't have it here, but csfrancis555.com is an address that I pay for, and then I can just put my style sheet over on that domain. I think that's easier, but at the same time, there are reasons why we're not supposed to load from multiple servers at once, even though it's quite easy to do it. I guess it's not too bad. Just remember, add to your template, load static, and then the template spot for the other link. So I can put that in the results page probably too. There, paste that in, come up to the top, load static. Now it should look a little bit better than the black and white. The other one will have to actually paste that into the string. So for those who are following along and just automatically type in word views, a whole bunch of people just automatically put a doc string here and just typed it up in a doc string, which works great. P plus equals all of that. Except now I need escape sequences on something. Maybe just this. Oh, and this. Earlier I'd used the nested quotes, but over the years I found that so we do something like that, we have to actually put it in that string. Or if you've got a doc string, it's even easier there. A bunch of people just automatically did that. So should refer to it now. Oh, it's not. Look at this. It didn't, Django didn't process that. So on the strings, well, we can't link to it because it's in the static folder. We don't know. It's not going to be in a directory structure. It's coming across the internet in the OSI model. Have y'all seen that? All the different layers. The physical layer, data link layer, transport layer. It's coming from the OSI model. It's not coming from folders. So we can't put a folder name. So the strings are a bit more problematic if you do something like that. Again, referring to another spot on the internet would work. Let me take that out because I know that's not going to work. But what we can do is add in a style tag. Oh. No. Oh. There we go. Shift and then that key. It's on the 0 key, and I'm not used to this keyboard. the insert key is in someplace different, and insert keys are annoying, right? So everybody accidentally hit those before and get the overriding instead of the typing. So we can do an embedded style sheet here. And probably just copy those style rules over, which is going to look like a mess. That one I will do as a doc string and say page plus equals that, just to make it a little bit easier. Really, it's not going to blend in with the rest of it that way, but if we want to do something like that, we want to have a string, we kind of just, we're very limited on options. I guess you could also do inline style, but that'd be even harder than what we just did. Or put it somewhere else on the internet and make that one of the allowed domain hosts. Pictures would follow suit. Do y'all see what to do on pictures? It follows suit with the templates. You want them, you don't want to do it this way. I just did that for the first easy example. You had a bunch of JSON in string format, JSON, your data, a big data set formatted as JSON strings, then that would give you a nice little API. Is where I would typically use that instead of some of the other API functionality. One-way data transfer, not, I guess it's not a full API, just getting the data, not going back the other direction. But whenever we have templates, just throw that in there, and you do have to run this line. Python manage .py collect static. A bunch of error messages show up, but that other stuff that we just looked at won't work unless we run this line. And I did that first to see the error messages and make it look confusing, but they're going to show up. You just kind of, you'll notice that none of those refer to any of our own code. That, definitely iterate that, iterate that. None of it refers to our own code. Those relate to something else. I use that as a side note, just to see a bunch of error messages, make it look like something wasn't working. But we have to run that in order to do it this way. And we usually get error messages unless you've got some other stuff going on. Same thing if you do pythonanywhere.com. If we go over to our files, the one we made. Is this the one we made? We did do a template, didn't we? Oh, not on that one. Okay, there's the templates. So we're gonna do the same thing. Right here at this level, we need a folder called static. Create the directory, and then we need a new file. Greetings.css. Let's do the body with a background color. Background color. Orange. That'll work. So we save that. Come back up here. Pick up this level and in our template. Go in our editor. load the static files in. And here you do not have to collect static. PythonAnywhere.com is used to using Django, so it runs collect static automatically and discards those error messages in the background for us. And then our link tag with relevance to the style sheet, a MIME type of Unicode with holding CSS stuff, and the hyperlink reference, which is a bit more of a mess. That goes into a Django template thing that's going to look at the static folder. I meant to nest that in a folder. It's usually considered bad form to put it right in the static folder. We should put something else there. But I just did it twice and completely forgot. So bad form does not mean doesn't work. It just means we should really have more organization than I just put in our simple example here. And I completely forgot on whether I put an S there or not. Greetings.css. I cannot remember if I put an S on that file or not. Then in our template area. I hope it has an S. We'll find out in a second. Then we need to come back up somewhere where we can get to the web one. Because we don't see the new version until we push it out, like we saw last week. Push out those changes. Go to our example. Why did that not pull up? So you know where it's at. It doesn't see it. Maybe it didn't run that line. It used to run that automatically. Let's see if that's what it needs. So if I open a new console, I'll go to files and look around until I see the Python or the manage.py. There it is right there. This is level 1 work on. It used to do that, but it seems it used to automatically run it. And that's the second time I've seen it not automatically run it. So I guess don't rely on it. Collect static is one word. Yes, do all that. And oh, well, this one worked better because it has all of the configuration in place. Don't have to do anything else. But one static file was caught. So it did find one static file. Oh yeah, I haven't deleted the other projects. The last 4 times I've taught the class, those files are still on there. I was like, why do I have 128 files? That something seemed off there. So I exit the console, shut that down. Notice I don't have any running. We have a limit on how many we can have, so you do want to kind of keep track of those. Push out the changes, which sometimes this will automatically collect all the static files, and sometimes it won't. It used to every single time, and that's like the 3rd time I've seen it not collect them. But now it knows what it is. So I guess run that line. And if you get error messages and it's clearly a bunch of stuff in the background, that's referring to variables and things like that. Well, you saw just a minute ago. It does not hurt us to ignore those messages, so that they're more like warnings than errors. But as always, we learn that by doing, right? I know that because of how many times I've looked at those error messages and then spent a while trying to figure out what was going wrong. And it takes practice to learn to really learn which error messages we can ignore and which ones we need to pay attention to immediately. Which we're under tight time constraints, so getting that practice in is a little bit difficult. Images also go in your static folder. It should be fairly easy, and then get called in the exact same way. So a bunch of odds and ends, and that's going to be the Django homework for this week. Is whatever you did the previous app that you have out there last week, you should have the one that's due tonight, which is actually last week's homework. Do it midnight tonight. Put in an app on pythonanywhere.com. So this week it's just going to be add a style sheet to it. I'm going to change that right after class. Homework, just add a style sheet. And picture for 10% extra credit. So if you do a picture, you'll get 10% extra credit for multiple pictures. It won't go above 10%. So you can put lots of pictures in there if you want to, but you'll only get the extra credit for one. Or the first one gets extra credit, and the rest of them just make your page look better. Which most people that come into software development that make the page look better, they'll take that. They're not worried about the extra credit. They're like, yeah, the one picture wasn't enough. I need these other 5 to finish it out. That's part of the reason that we're the people that chose software development. Right. But add a style sheet like we just did in class. And that'll be the Django assignment. That way you can spend most of your time on the project. That covers all the key points I wanted you to see for Django first off. Because then you can take that and turn that into a desktop application. And the step-by-step video on how to do that is in the submission spot. On YouTube, somebody happened to come through over the weekend and talk about a better, more efficient way to do it. I haven't replied to his comment yet, but I was like, this video was created for an introduction to Django class. It's like, you are correct, that would be way more efficient, but I'm introducing it to students here. But having it in the comments is probably useful. I got distracted. Oh yeah, put that on GitHub. Let me open PowerShell again in this folder. And if I wanted to back this up, I'd need to put it on Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive, an actual storage backup place that has redundancies and all of that. Code repositories are not for that. Code repositories, what we saw earlier. Code repositories are so I can import a script directly from that code repository into my own Python application. I can run your code from GitHub. It's very specifically a code, a place to manage code and versions of code. So, not a storage thing, but we haven't really seen much that's beyond storage because it does get a little bit more complicated. What did we do tonight? Stuff. Already through. I'm tired. All weekend I was drinking Turkish coffee, so like I can't drink enough regular coffee to wake me back up again. My body's like, this is where's the rest of the caffeine they got used to over the weekend? Yeah, I got a new sys job over the weekend, so I was working on recipes and grind size and timing and all of that. So I had a bunch of Turkish coffee, which is really, really strong. Oh yeah, now get push origin name. Right. Those others that I mentioned are for backups. We don't do those from the terminal. Those aren't terminal instructions. Those are just storage locations. So this right here is indication get, and then the website GitHub, which is actually a project, supposed to be a project management tool. We barely looked at those. Did we look at those in here? I don't think we did we? In the other class. let's take a quick second here. So it's changed over the years, but what GitHub is supposed to be for isn't the code here. The code is just where the name comes from. The Git SCM protocol, which isn't an acronym. Linus Torvalds, who invented Git, always names things after himself. And in British English, it means an unpleasant gentleman. In American English, we have a B word for women that means the same thing as the male version of that. Is it Linus Torvalds? That's what he decided to name it. But it's Git protocol on a project management hub is where that name comes from. It's rearranged over the years, and this has become the premier one for open source software to be shared. So our code became the first tab, and our project goes way over here now. So if we wanted to do some project management stuff, we could automatically link to any of our other projects. I can move Zoom thumbnails out of the way. Zoom thumbnails are like always in the way. We just create a new project, and we've got a bunch of project management tools to go here. I don't know what that's searching for. But switch the button, the green button, from linking to something else to creating this project, so we can put several repositories into the same project. I got some odd looks from that in the bathroom. What would be an office suite? One repository holds the document editor. Another repository has the document editor, and another one with the slide deck. So have tables to organize things. Something like Kanban boards. It's Japanese for white card, index cards. With Japanese culture, if you give a bunch of Japanese programmers a basket full of to-do index cards with to-do items written on them, it becomes the supreme model of efficiency as they work through those tasks. Doesn't quite work the same the rest of the world, but it's still it definitely doesn't work quite the same with American work ethic. But it gives us these white cards that move from stuff in the planning stages to the building, the backlog, in progress. We can change our labels, different things like that. But Kanban boards or some combination of them. Also roadmaps, which are like Gantt charts. You can say on certain dates, certain things need to be done at certain dates. You kind of see their Gantt chart forming with the profile picture of which one of your team members are on there. So connecting everybody together. And they have a couple pre-built ones that are nice. So what do we have? So team planning, feature release, on other features. So it kind of combines things and Gantt charts and tables kind of put together for so here's a bunch of project management goals. So we got a backlog board. Whenever something needs done, it gets added to the backlog board. Next time a developer gets a chance, they grab it from the backlog, put it on the ready, or when we're ready or it needs to be done immediately, it goes from backlog to ready. And then the next time a programmer gets a chance, they grab that white card and move it over to in progress. That's the nature of how a Kanban board is supposed to work. All the stuff that needs done, the most important of those things that need done, the ones that are, everything's in place, they're ready to be worked on. So as soon as a programmer gets a chance, they grab the next ready thing and move it over to in progress. And there should be a finished over here. Yeah. Oh, and then after they're After the programmer's done, then they pass it on to the manager to review it. Or the unit testing, that would probably be unit testers. That showed up last week. They pass it on to the unit testers. It passes all the automated tests. And the programmers probably ran a few simple tests while they were putting it together. Then it passed every automated test that somebody spent weeks coming up with every possible situation that a human might try to do with their software and automating that test so that we can run them all in a few seconds. Then it moves over to the done column. So just moving those across. Bug reports here on a table. Kanban board. So here's the dates of when different people are supposed to work on which backlog item, but all the project management stuff. So the name of GitHub is not arbitrary. It's the Git SCM protocol that Linus Torvalds invented, implemented into a project management hub. There's a lot of stuff there to go get into. And all kinds of stuff. So the website was intended to be a project management tool. Git SCM, we can do that locally, right? Here's the Git folder. It's already a repository. I have a repository here. I could make another version of this somewhere else on my computer. Let me copy this address, control copy, and maybe go to downloads. Open PowerShell here. Git clone that. Git. It should be. There we go. Okay. I guess I don't need the Git extension in that case. So now I've got the same way I cloned the other one from GitHub. I now have it cloned. And this is now the one in the other folder is the remote for this. And then the one on the web is the remote from the one in the other folder. So the version control stuff is independent of that website. Whoops. Not that button. Stop screen sharing. And GitHub was intended to be a project management thing. Hub is more important than Git and that name of that. But it doesn't seem like it, and then it wasn't used that way, so they moved the code to the first tab instead of the project management tools to the first tab. We saw workflows, so that's from initial project management from the initial planning stages to releasing those packages on whatever pipeline we're working with. Well, we saw a pipeline, but we can also just release installers and stuff like that. You may have any questions about any of that odds and ends this evening? Okay, I assume 5 seconds of silence means there's no questions. If you have any, let me know. Or I think a few people were planning on sticking around. Otherwise, there's like an hour and 45 minutes left that should be blocked off on your calendar. It says learn Python. Please use the time productively. We're getting very near the end, so make sure you get all past due homework to me and maybe spend some time on your project. Plenty of stuff to do. Probably got stuff in your other classes too. Please use our time productively. I'll see you all Wednesday.